know how I be dragging in. If anything can go wrong, man, it be going wrong on the days that I be trying to go live. But hey, it is what it is. The show must go on. What's going on? I see Mike's Chaotic Gardening in here. Empress Herbal. What's going on? Saying what's up. Let's see who else in here. Stark Sunkiss. What's going on? Let's see who else is in here. Yeah, we're having issues with the website again. That's what I was kind of in there fooling with because I started getting emails from people saying that they couldn't check out with the garlic, so I had to create another garlic listing and put it back up because we're not sold out. So one more thing to deal with when you're a one-man show. But the show must go on. What's up, everybody? Just give y'all a little shout out. Let's see. Lynette Starr says, hello, everyone. I'm trying to pronounce this Minimac, Minimac 1 Cali. I hope I'm saying that right. Dear in Fear, what's going on? She said, just put in my order. Hey, Dear in Fear, if you just put in your order, was the link working for the garlic? That's what I want to know. Dear in Fear, was the link working correct for the garlic? I mean, I just finished redoing the link. I had to duplicate the link, copy it, and then delete the old one, and hopefully it points back to the old one. So hopefully that'll work. John N. King, what's going on? He says, greeting, growing out the box in chat. Dear in Fear says, yes, it works. Okay, good. Man, I'm telling you, this whole thing is not just a learning curve, but it's an adventure, to say the least. Because trying to, I try not to get too caught up into the technical side of what's going on with the website and all of that. I pretty much set the agenda for what I want on there and put everything in place. But then when things start going haywire and you kind of want things set up a certain way, you keep drilling at people like this is wrong, that's not right, this is not wrong. You try to tend to jump in and do as much as you possibly can to keep from, really putting the burden on people on that's trying to help you out and making sure that things are running accordingly. So, hey, no excuses made on this end. I just get out here and I try to make it happen. So, what we were talking about this evening was, man, if I show y'all Godzilla right now, she is done. Godzilla is done. But what's going on, bro? Yeah, I appreciate you coming in. I'm gonna just kind of chop it up with y'all for a little while. She said, yes, it truly is always learning something new to learn in gardening. Well, it's not even so much as the gardening as much as, heck, if all I had to do was worry about the garden, I'd be in a great place. But that's just the garden side of what I'm doing right now is actually the smallest portion of what's everything that's going on around me. Trying to run my own shop online, ordering product from overseas. They're on a 12-hour flip schedule from us, so 8 o'clock this evening is 8 o'clock in the morning over there. So I'm up in the middle of the night trying to make sure that things are getting put in place, shipments. So again, like I said, I'm not complaining because what they say: be careful what you ask for because it just might happen. And I'm having to wear several different hats and learn how to do them well because I don't believe in making excuses. So just trying to make this thing come together, and it's happening a lot faster than I anticipated. Which again, you be careful what you ask for because sometimes it happens that way, and it's happening. So what's going on? That's what I want to say. Empress Herbal. I was checking you out today, Empress Herbal. I like, anytime you show your the birds on there, I'm always gonna be interested in that. So I'm always check you out. Uh, to whom is much giving, much is required. Absolutely, absolutely. And man, the squash cage. That's pretty much what we were gonna be chopping it up with tonight about the squash cage and really not doing your due diligence. You know, I'm one that says, I like to stay on point and keep things in order and know what it is that I should be doing. But every now and again, we try to cut corners. And I'm just as guilty as anyone, excuse me, I'm just as guilty as anyone else when it comes to maybe I can get away with this. And I'm paying for it right now because for all the work that it took to put the squash cage together, I literally have to take it apart again because what I did was I used some purchased compost to fill the bottom half of the bed because I was rushing, hadn't had a chance to really build up my compost piles as I normally have. And even if I had my compost piles going, it still wouldn't have been enough to fill that entire bed. My compost pretty much is for top layering and just top dressing over your beds and stuff. It's not for really building the entire beds. Excuse me. Um, so I would have had to purchase some compost anyway. But there were so many signs that this compost was not right that I should have listened to myself on. First of all, my bananas, as I was bringing them out for spring, I just took a handful of the compost, try to give them something to kind of get them to wake up. And I took a handful of the compost and I only put it on one of my banana plants. And a few days later, that banana plant literally withered right before my eyes. And I really didn't, because I haven't been growing bananas that long, so I really didn't know, what the issue was. So I was like, well, maybe it's just going into shock from coming out, being in the garage all, being in the garage all winter and getting back out and acclimating, which I had them in the shade. So that was, like I said, I wasn't sure. So again, that was the first telltale sign right there that when I put that compost on that banana plant, and banana plants can handle a pretty strong portion of nitrogen. They can handle a lot. Banana plants are heavy feeders, so they can handle a lot. So that was my first sign. Um, the compost had been sitting in the driveway. I mean, I got hold on, let me back up again. Because I'm going to tell you all the signs and you're going to be like, growing out the box. Now, you're supposed to be doing too much. That was not doing too much. So, but what I did was when they brought the trailer over, because it was supposed to be a dump truck of compost from a horse stable, is what they said. But they brought it over in one of uh, those dumpster bins. And what I thought I was paying $150, $160 for was maybe like a little pile. This was like a whole dumpster, like a whole dumpster full of dirt, which would have covered my entire. I got like on my parking pad. It's a triple car garage parking pad. This dirt would have covered the entire driveway. So I was like, whoa, no, that's too much. So I paid the guy $160 to dump half of it. Again, going back to this point again, it was still steaming when he poured it off the truck. So I was like, okay, that's cool. We got the rest of the winter to go through and hopefully it'll cool down a little bit. And by that time, we can at least put it on the bottom of the beds and then we'll put our good compost, what I had left over from my personal compost, we'll put it on the top. And that's been sitting out in the driveway for the entire time. Now, let me just tell you now, if you pour compost in your driveway in the middle of the wintertime and nothing is growing in it, weeds, nothing is growing out of this compost, That's telltale sign number two. Nothing was growing out of that compost. Not even like we got these big oak trees. And if you got oak trees around, you know that those little uh, with the acorns, they'll land on anything and plant a seed. Not even an oak tree seed was in this compost. That's, I know, that's just sign number two. And that was like the biggest sign because I kept walking by this thing every day that I come in and go out. And I'm saying to myself, something ain't right about this compost now. I mean, this is supposed to be some fresh compost from a horse stable. Well, okay, let me make another excuse for myself because then I'm saying, well, maybe it's the lime because you know in the horse stables they throw out lime to keep the smell down. So I said maybe it's the lime and maybe that's what's causing it, to not grow anything out of it. So again, just making one excuse after another. But what I should have did was what they call a bioassay, and I want to see if anybody in here, before we even get into it, I want to see if anybody in here knows what a bioassay is when you start talking about checking your soil. Let's go down to the chat. What's going on, David Core, with the crop? I'm glad you in here, man. I'm glad you in here. I see Bougie Prepper in here. Thank you for coming in. G Mama, I'm gonna need your help on this one. Matter of fact, everybody in the chat, y'all finna. I want everybody in there to just spank my hand for doing everything that I know I should have did different. So, what are some things that we should have done before putting this compost in our garden? I want to hear that from the chat. I want y'all to scold me on this one because I should know better. But I want y'all to scold me on this one. What are some things that should have been done before I put that compost in my garden? This is a foreign compost. This is not a reputable seller. This is one, again, this is the third thing. I bought it from Harry Who Knows Who off of Marketplace because it was a great price. So one, it knocked my banana plant down. I thought it destroyed it. It did not. It came back. Number two, there was nothing growing out of the compost pile for the entire winter time. And well, number three would be it was steaming when they poured it off the truck. So you guys, let me hear what you guys think. Okay, Empress Herbal says I should have checked the pH. That's one thing. You're absolutely correct. That is part of when you start talking about a bioassay. That is one of the things on a bioassay. So Empress Herbal, boom, you got a point. If I had a little bell out here, I'd hit the bell and be like, ding, 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 ding. You got that one. Let's see here. Respectfully, not Nadia says, no, sir, there will be no punishment in any form. We live and learn. We share the blessings and we enjoy rewards for moving forwards. That's right. But yeah, sometimes you got to get that little spanking because I knew better. I knew better, and I come on here and I try and share these things with you guys to hopefully keep you from doing the same, making these same mistakes. And I did exactly what I would have told someone else not to do. So, the analytic gardener, thank you for coming in. Can't speak individually. Um, we be in the bushes. Analytic gardener says she in the bushes. David Core with the crop. Come on now, help me out. What are some things that I could have done to mitigate this bad compost that I just put? I'm gonna take you over here to the squash cage, and I'm gonna let y'all see my blunder. Let y'all see what my blunder looks like, cause it is really. When I say it's bad, it's bad. It's really bad. It really is bad. So y'all remember how beautiful. Now this is what I pride myself on. David Corey, I'm glad you're in here too because you told me this thing. You said on one of your lives that this Jamaican sorrel would get pretty big, This is just one of my Jamaican sorrels. So she's in a, I think this is a 32-inch bed right here, and she's already covered that. But I took into account that she would be growing back. So my electric fence here, I did put a trellis behind it to hopefully block that. I may have to go in and trim that down. So y'all know I jump all over the place, so don't mind me for, let me go back over here. So we'll go over here. This is my other Jamaican sorrel. Look how beautiful she is. This is what I pride myself on. Look how beautiful that baby is. Yes, yes, indeed. Look at that. Just back off from it. Now, I did the same thing on both of these. I put the little trellis on the back to keep it from going back here to my electric fence because I don't want it to touch that. It'll ground it out. So this is one of my Jamaican sorrels. The other one's on the other side of the squash cage. Now, we're going to go back over here. And we're going to take y'all into the squash cage. Let me sit this down so I can talk to y'all while I go open this thing up. All right. Yep, that's pretty good. So this was my pride and joy this year. I mean, this thing worked out so well. I mean, this was again my pride and joy this year. I was really feeling so good about this. I pretty much just have thrown my hands up to it right now because it is now a disaster. So I'm gonna just walk you in here and let you guys see what I did. I mean, it is done. This is what's left of Godzilla. Look at this. This is what's left of Godzilla. Once she tapped into that soil down there, now we start talking about doing a bioassay, right? Let me turn the camera around, chop it up with you guys. So we're talking about doing a bioassay. Now with the bioassay, there's some things that we should have been checking for before we put this soil into this garden bed. So I'm gonna turn, this is my other squash plant right here. Yeah. Now one squash plant, I'll be like, okay, maybe it's the plant. But here we are on the opposite end of the garden bed, and the same thing's happening to this plant. Now, it's not a vine borer. We've already gone down. We're gonna turn the camera around. We're gonna let you see some things that we're gonna check for. First thing we're gonna check for, we want to see if a vine borer or something like that's gotten in here. So we don't see any of the frass that would be prevalent for a vine borer. But what we do see is everything is just laying down. This stuff is just laying down. We'll go back over here to Godzilla. Godzilla is toasted. So then what we would do, we would come over here. This is my compost on the top. I'm gonna come in and scrape this off and try to salvage as much of this compost as I can. And what we would do, we would come over here. I'm gonna pull this out. And then we're gonna pull the roots, because what else could be wrong? Look at this. Done. It's totally done down there. Totally severed. So we would end up having to dig this out. A beautiful compost. This is my compost on top. It's probably about the top 6 inches, then everything on the bottom is that one. Now, here's the other candy roaster here. And you can see what's happening to the colors on here. She's starting to bleed as well. That means she's starting to tap down into that second layer of compost, and whatever's down there is affecting her also. So, yeah, we'll come back over here and we'll do the same thing. We'll brush some of this back. I mean, literally, this just, it just, it's done. There's nothing left of this plant. So we're gonna come out and we're gonna clean all of that up. And the candy roaster is still hanging on. Candy roaster is still hanging on. She's on the trellis. She's climbing all up the walls. She's still hanging on, but it's just a matter of time before the candy roaster taps down there as well. So the whole squash cage, I'm gonna just back out a little bit, let you get a better view of the squash cage itself. That's done. The roots from the candy roaster there. Godzilla was there. This one is done. We got one back there in the pot. So what we should have did, and this is what we're gonna talk about. When we're talking about it's kind of depressing, to be honest. I'm trying to handle this with a grain of salt because this is all my fault. This is nobody's fault but my own. Had I done my due diligence and followed my own advice, that I would have told any of you guys to do this. So right here, now I want you guys to work with me on this because I want you guys to not only see what damage I got there, but I also put that compost on the bottom of this bed right here. Now there's some sweet potatoes growing out the front of this. Look how beautiful these sweet potato vines are. She's tapping into the ground down here. These are sweet potato vines that I put in here. So it's just a matter of time before these sweet potatoes start showing some sign. Maybe half of the bed, but either way around, these sweet potatoes are no good. Because what we need to find out, we know it's not a squash vine borer. We know what are some other things. Let's go down to the chat and find out what are some things that we should be looking for that could cause the damage that are to those squash plants over there. I want you guys to help me out on this. We're gonna do this together. So you guys let me know, what are some things that can cause that kind of damage to our squash plants? All of them in the same growing area. Definitely not a vine borer, no insect issues. So we've eliminated down to the soil, and I already have the answer because, again, that same soil is in here, and I'm gonna show you what the difference is. I want you guys to really pay attention now, because when you start talking about uh, this, let me see if I can get. I'm gonna turn this camera around so you can see it, because I want you guys to really get a good look at what I'm doing here. We start talking about a bioassay. Let me see one of you really people who are really following the channel. You see what's happening with these bean plants here? These bean plants were taking off a week or two ago. Now all of a sudden, look at what's happening to them. They're starting to get yellow, faded out as well. These things were dark, rich green. They were the same color as these sweet potatoes right here. But look what's happening to them. Now look at the new leaves. Can somebody tell me why this is happening? to those leaves. Now, I'm going to take you to the same plant in a different bed, and I'm going to show you the same thing is happening because we did the exact same thing. We put that compost. Look at these leaves. Look at the texture of the leaves. All of these things are telltale signs for herbicides. Now, this is herbicides. G Mama. These are the telltale signs right here. When we start talking about a bioassay, legumes are the best tools that you have for that. And this is what I would have done before I put this stuff into my garden bed. I would have tested it with some beans. Beans are the quickest way to tell if you got bad compost. Bioassay. Yep. These are bean plant. You see the difference in these new leaves coming up? The deformity in them? That's a telltale sign of herbicide poisoning. Now I'm gonna go over to another one of the same bean plant in a different bed that I did the exact same thing in it. I did the exact same thing. Look how beautiful these sweet potato vines are. Beautiful. This is what this whole bed, if you go back and look at the older videos, this whole bed was just, it was fabulous a few weeks ago. But look at what's happening to the leaves now. You see that curling? How the leaves are starting to curl? Look at the new growth. See that curling? And you look at the tips. When we start talking about a bioassay, if you want to know if you got bad soil, put you some beans in it. The beans are going to tell you everything you need to know about that soil. You see what's happening to the tips? That ruffling of the feathers, that curling? There you go. That's right. Curling and spotting. The Empress Herbal on it. Empress Herbal is on it today. Curling and spotting. That is a telltale sign of bad soil, herbicidal poison. So everything in that bed is done. There's nothing that I can do with that because I don't know what they sprayed on it. Now I'm going to take you over and let you see that same bean plant in another bed. This is the same bean plant. This is the same bean plant. You see the difference in these leaves? And this one has just been in here for a little while. And this bean plant is already reaching up to 5 feet tall. Already up to 5 feet tall. And look at all the beans in this plant. Not one of them have climbed up this trellis. They got into the trellis and just laying down. They won't climb. You see the tips on this thing? They won't climb. Those are telltale signs of herbicidal poison. Look at those leaves. So that is the lesson that we have today on herbicidal poisoning and bioassays. Let's see, we got another one over here. Same bean plant. Look at the difference. Same bean plant. Look how smooth the leaves are. Same bean plant. Same bean plant. Now this trellis here is 5 feet tall and it's already climbing up this trellis. So that's telling you right there, both things on these garden beds. The other one here, this one's started climbing, but look at how thin the tips of this thing is. They literally are falling apart. So that is how you test your soil before, and I'm gonna say that again while I'm kicking my butt, before you do all this work, and then you have to undo it all and throw away your whole season because you were moving too fast, not doing too much. That's what happens when you're not doing too much. That's what happens. It's the same bean plant here. Look how this bean plant is crawling all over the place. It's the same bean plant in a different bed. Look at that. Just crawling all over the place. Flowers, putting off nice, beautiful beans. Same bean plant in a different garden bed. It's over here with my peanuts. These are my peanuts right here. Same bean plant. Look at how they're crawling all up on the kale over there. That's how good these beans are over here. They're just taking over. They're crawling all over the place. So we're gonna sit down and chop it up a little bit. That's the lesson for the day in not doing too much. Y'all know how I do it. Y'all see it right there. You be doing too much. I failed that test. And I'm extra hard on myself because of just that. I'm extra hard on myself because I physically did, I think it was 12 wheelbarrows that I had to go all the way from my driveway to the back of my garden area to fill that bed up. Another 4 wheelbarrows in that garden bed. Another 4 wheelbarrows in that garden bed. And it's all got to be undid. So not only has it messed up my summer, but it's also going to affect my fall garden because all of these were things that I had in place that would transition over into the fall garden. So just because I didn't do too much, I'm telling you, man, I can laugh about it, but it's really not funny because it's just me. So it took so much of me and the energy that I had to just do it, like to mentally put myself into the mindset of, look, man, it ain't gonna get done if you don't get out there and do it. So I had to mentally push myself to a point to where I say, just do it. And I think part of that was the reason why I discarded the things that I knew I should have did because I just wanted to get it done. I looked at that soil sitting in my driveway for all that time. I can't move cars in and out, so it was blocking the driveway. And I was just ready to make something happen, and that was the wrong thing to do. So let's get on down to the chat. Yeah. Crystal Commodore says, oh no, sorry about the compost. What's going on, Jigs? I meant something in the heat. If you overwater too much, they'll wither too. Yeah, yeah, Dave, they will wither in the heat, but the only plants in my garden is withering in the heat is everything I put that compost in. My garden is resilient. When I say resilient, like we can we can sit around and like a lot of times you'll say gardeners, and I know a lot of you guys said that about me too. So I ain't gonna say no names, but I know some of y'all said this about me too. Some people just show what they want you to see. You can't see the rest of their garden. Well, my garden is resilient. My garden is still going. It was 96 degrees or something like that today. It's gonna be in the mid 90s going up in. My garden is still going. My garden is still going. There's nothing to hide over here, nothing to hide over here. Look at that. Raspberries are coming in. So everything is working. Here go the blackberries that we pruned, and we talked about those side shoots coming out. Look at those beautiful side shoots coming out. Everything that we're doing over here is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm not afraid to take the camera and walk around the garden, and that's the reason why I started going live, because I think some of y'all thought I was faking over here. We got figs down here. Is it this right here? That's a that's a 3-year-old bush. It's a 3-year-old fig bush, a brown turkey. Now I'm finna show you another 3-year-old brown turkey. These are 3-year-old bushes. Like I said, I can walk through my garden and not be bashful about anything that's going on. Beans going. Love lies bleeding amaranth. We talk about companion planting and trap crops. Look at these. They're getting ate up, but the beans are not. This is a typical, beautiful textbook version of what trap crop is. The beans are not getting touched, but the love lies bleeding amaranth, they're getting ate up. Look at that. The beans aren't getting touched. It's a textbook of what I'm trying to show you guys. It's like some people will tell it to you, they'll read it out of a book, but I'm showing you how this stuff actually works. This is textbook. Look how ate up these things are. This is Japanese beetles doing this. But when you put stuff like this here, that's a favorite food of theirs, they'll leave your beans alone. Remember I was telling you earlier this year that the Japanese beetle was doing damage to my beans? Well, when summer came up and these love lies bleeding amaranth popped up, that's why I let them stay in the bed with the beans. These are purple hull peas. Now, if I told you this bush was 3 years old, would you believe me? If you've been following the channel, I mean, it is what it is. That bush, this fig tree and the other fig tree was put in at the same time. This one was fertilized, the other one was not. So this goes to the point to where I hear so many gardeners say, I put my trees in the ground and I don't fertilize them. That tree is fertilized. The one over here, that's half the size, is not. It's just working off what's in the ground. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to catch up, because she is starting to put on some. This one piece here, this one here is probably about 6 foot, a little over 6 foot tall. But we're talking about the difference in one bush that's been fertilized. This one was not. This one is working off of what's in the soil, everything that's happening in the soil around it. Blueberry bushes, look at all the new growth. Even after that harsh winter that we had, blueberry bushes still shining. All of this stuff is, look at that dark green foliage. These are blueberry bushes. These are my blueberry. These are my babies right here. These are my babies. That dark foliage. That's the magnesium. That's that magnesium. That magnesium. All of these babies. Dark foliage. That blueberry bushes. And it's time to fertilize. Time to do our feeding and what we call our recharge of the soil. When you start seeing those blueberry bushes putting off those tips like that, that new growth, she's telling you she's hungry and it's time to feed her. Look at all that new growth. It's time to feed her. That's where all the berries are going to be next year. So it's time to feed her. All of this new growth on all the blueberry bushes. Like I said, some people are, affronted. Not over here. We're doing this thing for real. So let's see here. Who's coming over here for? We've got our citrus trees right here. And we're starting to get some ripening. These are organic potting mixes or natural potting mixes. This is a ponderosa lemon in a pot, not a synthetic growing. This is all organic. Everything in this potting mix. This is that potting mix that I showed you guys that I'm growing these things in. It's got lemon all over it. The lemon is starting to turn now. See, they're starting to get their color. Lemon all over. This is a eureka. That's a eureka. So Eureka, lemon everywhere on this thing. Nowhere you can turn and no lemon. New growth still coming on. Got new growth. Another ponderosa. Look at how big that baby is. Yes, sir. Bigger than a grapefruit. And that's my Miwa kumquat that got knocked down, but she bounced back as well. Look at all that beautiful new growth on her. All of this stuff is growing in my medium. This is my growing medium here. That's real dirt, compost, and it's time to fertilize those too. So we're gonna be fertilizing our citrus as well. Got our other figs that we dug up out the ground this year, put them in pots, and they recovered pretty well. So you can see that dark foliage on these as well. All of these are those FPJs that we're doing. This is our brown select Satsuma. She lost all of her leaves this year, but she put them all back on. This is in the ground, Georgia Zone 8A. This is citrus tree in the ground, Georgia Zone 8A. Now what we're gonna do here, we're gonna take that Mexican sunflower out there, and we're gonna take the old leaves on the Mexican sunflower. That's what we want now. And that's what we're gonna start feeding this. We wanna start winding this down because this is in the ground and she needs to start getting ready for winter time. So we wanna not use the tips on the Mexican sunflower this time. We wanna use the broad leaves. Now, y'all remember I harvested this Mexican sunflower. Now y'all remember, y'all were with me when I did this, when we did the FPJ on this Mexican sunflower. I'm gonna get down close to it. We just harvested this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And look at all the new growth that's already back on it, all the tips that are back. This is what I tell you when you start taking the tips off your plants, you're gonna get more and they're gonna be manageable. This plant will grow 10 to 15 feet tall, but I don't want it to grow 10 to 15 tall. I just want to keep it down here. And you can see, you see down there in the middle where we tipped it at right there. And already, look at all that. We got 3 times as many tips as we needed. So what we'll do again, we'll go in and we'll take all these tips again. And what the tips are going to have are going to be your auxins, gibberellins, and your cytokinins. Those are all the growth hormones that are in this plant. That's what the tips are going to have. When we start harvesting the lower leaves down here, this is what's going to have that potassium in it. This is where the potassium is going to be, and the phosphorus. This plant is very good dynamic accumulator for phosphorus. While you might only think a 0.50 is not that much of phosphorus, when we start talking about biological inputs, that is amazing for a plant to deliver 0.5% of phosphorus. And it goes directly into the system of the plants, biological fertilizers. That's what we're doing over here. This bush right here, see this bush right here? Growing out the box be doing too much. This bush is less than a year old. This thing is already probably about 13 feet tall. It's less than a year old. I just put this in last year. Last year, that was the tip of it down there last year. That was the tip last year. It's done all of this growth in 1 year. All of that growth in 1 year. You know, same thing with this one. That one was put in last year also. All that growth is in 1 year. It was 4 feet tall, about 3 feet. This was the top point in this last year. When I put this in last year, this was how big it was. And look at the girth. This is what you want to see when you're looking at the health of your plants and if those roots are taken in. Look at the girth of that thing. And that was probably about maybe an inch wide last year, and that's how much growth it's done on it since this year. Look at the girth on this one as well. See how thick that is? That's probably about 3.5, almost 4 inches in girth. 1 year of growth. She needs to be pruned, but we're not going to worry about that because that's going to happen this winter. We'll do all of that this winter. But again, just letting you guys see what the garden look like in a nutshell. I got projects going on back here. This is where I'm glad I didn't put in, because these beds here got to go in other places. So I've started putting them together, but I am so glad that I slowed myself down. Got some more beans coming up on this trellis right here. So we got to put those beans in there. They're going to be what they call rattlesnake beans. They're going to be coming up here, and then we're going to put some zucchinis over here. I got some more zucchinis that are coming up. I'm not afraid to put them out because the vine borers are going down right now, so we can still do that. Got peppers still going. Flowers. Everybody else, peppers are dropping flowers. We still got peppers going. Beautiful green foliage. So no, David Corey, we're not talking about no withering over here. No, man, that's for the weak. That's for the weak. That's for the weak, brother. All of these are ready. This is things ready to harvest here. You see that right here? If you're a watermelon grower, same concept as a watermelon. This is how you know this thing is ready to be picked. Looking at the stem right here and the tendril. The tendril's dried out, she's ready to come off. Tendril's dried out, stem is dried out, she's ready to come off. This one's still going. This one's still going. That one there's still going. This one here, tendril dried out, stem dried out, she's ready to come off. So on average, you're looking at probably about 5 to a vine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I got 3 in the house already. And these things are going bananas. Literally going bananas. These are cucumbers still going. Cucumbers still going. Cucumbers still going. So we're in the middle of the summer, hot as it can be. And no, ain't no withering over here. These are squash plants. Still going. Squash plants. Still going. The same squash plant I planted early spring. Still going. Same squash plant. Got some marigolds right there. Wax peppers here. Beautiful wax peppers. Still going. Ain't nothing laying down over here. Bells down there. Bells still going. We even got some more peppers over here still going. Beautiful red, they're ready to come off. Bells there. Eggplant making a second run. Eggplant is coming back for its second round. So don't give up on your eggplants. Those Japanese beetle will give them a run for the money, but once those Japanese beetle go back in, she's gonna start putting on her leaves again. And not only is she putting on leaves, she's gonna give us another round of eggplants. So don't give up on your eggplants. Look at that, all my eggplants are coming back. Don't give up on your eggplants. Yep, they're gonna be beautiful going towards the fall, and they will push all the way into the fall. Peppers. You might say, look at all that green. Ain't no peppers on there. Look at all that green. There's no peppers. What? Ain't no peppers. They up under there hiding. They know where the sunlight is. All those peppers on there. See all that red up under there? Yeah, they hiding. They know how to stay out the sun. The baby cayennes there. Baby cayennes. More nasturtiums. I'm sorry, more marigolds, beautiful marigolds. Some more beans over here, and we're gonna be putting in our black beans. So, and then I wanted to see just how long this tomato plant will survive. I ain't gonna take her out. I want to see just how long this tomato, this is a marglobe, and she's a determinate or semi-determinate. So we want to see just how long she survives. She's still putting off fruit in the middle of the summer. It's semi-determinate. Semi-determinate. And not just that one, we got a couple of them out here. And I got some more that's on the back up because I got my, some more sweet potatoes here. And I don't think I've ever even showed you guys my New Orleans purples. All that sugar we using around here, I want to see if I can grow some sugar cane. So yeah, we're doing it all. We're trying to grow sugar cane as well. So my thing is, and here's a straggler blackberry back here. I was saving this because I wanted to show you guys what needed to be pruned off of it. So if you guys still want to see that, that's a black mission fig right there. We're gonna let that stay there, and she's just gonna have to compete for nutrients. It's another Mexican sunflower here. Look how beautiful, pretty these leaves are. Now that those Japanese beetles are going away, look how beautiful these leaves are. This is what's gonna keep those fruit trees surviving through the winter. We're gonna start collecting this, and we're gonna make our FPJs off these big leaves. That's gonna be that potassium that they need to carry them through the winter. So we'll get back over here and chop it up a little bit with you guys. So, oh, and I didn't tell you, I haven't quite given up on bananas either. We got bananas in pots. Look at that. So we haven't quite given up on the bananas. Even if we don't produce no bananas, I'm gonna learn enough from this little experience right here to where I'll get it next year. I guarantee you I see bananas on this thing next year if these don't survive. So the bees are loving it. It's bananas in a pot with 4 pups. It's got 4 pups in there, so that's draining the nutrients out of there. Look at this beautiful baby here. Oh yeah. She's got 3 pups in there with her. So we're gonna be taking this out of the pot as well. So let's get over here and chop it up. Yep. Get over here and chop it up. Since I've done my venting for the day, I've done my venting for the day. I've done enough venting. I was a little disappointed in myself with what's going on, but I don't know. I might have to pay somebody to come over here and help me out with. Let me see. It looked like this thing was dropping on me. Yeah, it was. I may have to pay somebody to come over here and help me out with the just undoing some of the stuff I did, because I just don't have the time of the day to come out here and just really undoing what I've already done. So that's going to be a job within itself. So let's go down here to the bottom of the chat. So Lisa K says, I'm in California, zone 9 something. We can grow bananas. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm in Georgia, zone 8A. And we can grow bananas, but you have to be somewhat learned on them to grow bananas here in Georgia Zone 8A, and I'm determined to figure it out. I've learned how to grow the plant. I've had my bananas now 2 years. That banana came from last year, and it fruited the first year. So being able to keep it alive from last year to this year, I was able to get the fruit. Now I just got to remember to remove those pups. So all of those pups are going to be separated this year. They'll make it through the winter time, and one of those pups are going to be producing some bananas next year, if not all of them, because I'm going to make sure that no more than one pup is in a pot with it. So it's a good learning experience. There's no such thing as a loss, as long as you don't quit. So what's going on, Gina? She says, I'm praying over this banana plant. Yeah, that banana, she holding on, man. I gave her some fertilizer the other day, and you can see the leaves are starting to pick up. The thing is, I'm learning how to alternate between my FPJs for the past maybe since I really saw the since I saw the bananas come out. I had to kind of switch up because I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've never grown bananas before, other than the research that I've done. So I had to take my FPJs and switch it up a little bit. So I went back to my magnesium inhibit FPJ that I use in the spring. I gave that to the leaves that got the green back in it. So the FPJ, the Himbit that I made this spring, is what made her green back up because the potassium that I was getting from my FPJ out of the Mexican sunflower was helping her to fruit and produce that side of it, but it wasn't helping her keep that chlorophyll into those leaves, which is that magnesium. So most people are going to think nitrogen when you look at the greening on it, but no, that's not what made that plant turn green. Magnesium is what makes her turn green, and the magnesium is that chlorophyll that's pushing through and feeding off of those allowing her to take in that sunlight. So the two that I've been using on her are my Himbit FPJ and my Mexican sunflower FPJ. So I'm experimenting, I'm learning, and we're gonna figure it out. So let's see here. Chris, Christine Dye says, hi, what fertilizer do you give your banana trees? I'm in zone 7 and I don't think mine ever fruit, but I want to give them some good food. Thank you. Um, I make my own fertilizer. Now, I will say also gypsum, which is calcium sulfate. Gypsum works really well with it. They love calcium and the sulfur. And also potassium sulfate. Not muriate of potash, but uh, potassium sulfate. Potassium sulfate is what I've also put into the mix. And I'm going to be up potting some of my bananas, so I'm going to show you guys my whole. It's called a 4, 3, 2, 1 mix. Same way I did with all my other mixes out here. If you look at my blueberry bush mix, it's the same mix on every plant that's out here, no matter where it is. On my citrus, I got a mix for the citrus. It's an organic mix or natural mix, however you want to call it. The same thing with the bananas. I have what I call a 4, 3, 2, 1 mix. And you're going to have to keep watching the channel to see that because I'm going to be potting up my Vente Cojo probably this weekend. And I'm going to do that, do a whole video on it. And I'm going to show you how I'm fertilizing because the Vente Cojo is acclimating. And what I did was my plant partner who ships all of the live plants for us, I had her to send me a couple of the plants. One of them went to Empress Herbal. Empress Herbal is doing well over there. She's already on her second new leaf, which will give her, I think, 10 leaves now, because when I took it over, she was on leaf number 8. And what I'm doing is I'm counting the leaves on all of the plants, all the banana plants. I'm counting my leaves. So on my fruiting banana, I and I could be off 1 or 2, but I'm on leaf 43 before it started to fruit. So that's something that I'm keeping on, and that's a dwarf Orinoco. So leaf 43 is what I thought I was counting, and I might be a little off on the number, but I counted up to leaf 43, and she put off her fruit. So that is my goal on the other dwarf Orinocos. The other plant is a Venticojo. The Venticojo is going to fruit even faster. So you're looking at 27, 28 to 35 leaves before she'll fruit. And she's supposed to fruit in a shorter period of time. So in less than 12 months, that Venticojo will fruit. So if I have her now, this time next year, she should have fruit on her. And again, I'm going to keep separating them. I'm not going to let them let the pups carry on because that's part of being lazy. But I knew I couldn't have four pups and a mother plant in a pot together and thinking that it was going to be successful. I know better than that. But to even see it holding some of the bananas on there and still trying to fruit, that's a plus sign. And then adding that Himbit FPJ, spraying it on the leaves and seeing how those leaves are starting to green up again, she's definitely getting all the nutrients that she needs. The problem I think is just too much pulling from the roots. And I'm giving her 2 gallons of water a day, and she's drinking up 2 gallons of water a day. So let's get back down here to the chat. Lisa K says, I learned about cottonseed meal for the blueberries from you. Game changer. That's right. That cottonseed meal is the truth. I use the cottonseed meal on my strawberries, and I also use the cottonseed meal on my blackberries and blueberries. I mean, my blackberries and my raspberries. So yeah, it's a game changer. Oh, and before it starts to get dark, I'm gonna just this is a perfect example. Also, show you guys what we got right here. A lot of questions came in about pruning blackberries and blueberries. Again, for me, it was so simple that I've never talked about it because I always thought that everybody understood how simple it was. But you look right here, see this right here? These are these are ands, and these are golden raspberries here. I think this is a golden raspberry. Yeah, yeah, this is a golden raspberry. These are ands. And you'll notice all of her berries are on the tips. Now, the difference between the blackberries and the raspberries, if you have a black raspberry or a purple raspberry, it's pruned exactly the same way that you would prune your blackberries. Excuse me, I'm gonna say it again. If you have a black raspberry or a purple raspberry, you prune it exactly the way that you do your blackberries. How do we prune our blackberries? We tip them in the summer for our pruning to cause the lateral branching to stretch out. And in the wintertime, we do our second pruning. The wintertime, and I'm gonna take you over here and let you see, because this stuff is just so interesting to me, the way it works. And when you start seeing it, you see how this thing is starting to look like a little Christmas tree. Let's see if I can set the camera so you can really see it. Yeah. You see how this thing is starting to look like a little Christmas tree? I'm gonna go on the other side here. You see all these branches popping out right here? These are the laterals. That's what happens when you tip it. Remember, we just tipped this, what, maybe a month ago? This is the tip right here. Right there is where we tipped it. And what that does is it stops the apical dominance, and all of these start competing for that apical dominance, which means that all of them will start branching out. Now, what's going to happen is these will start to stretch out. In the wintertime, when she drops her leaves, we're going to let this get about 18 inches long, and then we're going to tip those laterals. The first pruning, the first pruning in the summertime, that first pruning is for berry quantity. That's what we tip it for, berry quantity. That's going to make all these extra laterals pop out. So that's going to give you lots more berries as opposed to having one long apical dominant cane. Instead of having one long one, you got several. Now you have all these starting to branch out. They're going to come all the way out down here. Wintertime, we come back and we clip the tips of these back to 18 inches. That's going to push the size of your berries. That's why we get those big berries. That's going to push the size. So you're going to get more berries and they're going to be larger when you do summer pruning and your winter pruning. That's how that goes. On the raspberries, again, these are ands, and you can see where these are already fruited on the tips. You see where all this is? This fruited. These are the primer canes. Now, once it fruits on the primer canes, I will come in and I will clip this right here during the winter time. I'll clip it where all the fruit has happened. And that is if you want two separate harvests out of this. If you only want one, you're going to take it all the way down to the ground in the wintertime. But if you want two harvests, the berries are going to be smaller, but you'll get two harvests, a spring and a summer, late fall. You'll cut it halfway. And then what'll happen is these bottom ones will fruit. You'll get fruit off the bottom half. And that is how you do multiple prunes. That's how you do multiple fruits on here. So the first year on your primer canes, it's going to fruit on the top half of the bush, top half of the cane. If you cut that half off, next year this becomes a floor cane and it'll fruit on the bottom half. Or you could just cut it all the way down to the ground and you'll get a summer harvest of larger berries. That's how simple that is. Yep. That's how simple that is. It's really, let's see here, go back down to the chat. All right, so let's read the chat. So y'all light me up over here. Y'all know how we do. We did pretty good on the last live. I think we got 42,000 reactions. We're doing better and better every time we do this thing. So I really appreciate you guys. Got 114 in here. Light that thing up. Y'all know what we do. Those hearts. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. Y'all see that over there? Light it up. So, Empress Herbal says we all should have fruit next year. That's right. We all gonna get fruit next year. Lisa K says I just wanted it on my 4 plants. 2 plants I bought to propagate and learn from you. You know what? That's what it's all about. You're not going to learn anything without experimenting. And some of those things are not going to go according to the plan. But the beautiful part about it is you're going to always get something out of it. So OCD is chick. Say, light it up. Light it up. Stark Sunkiss says, interesting. Blackberries are unique. Blackberries are very unique. And I think the one thing that I think that video did almost 2 million views on YouTube, on Facebook, and probably another million on Instagram. When I showed something as simple as most people didn't even know that blackberries have a 5-leaf and a 4-leaf. Most people didn't know that. And the difference between the 5-leaf is going to be on your primer canes. I'm some 4-leaf. 5 leaves on your primer canes, 3 leaves, let me correct myself, 3 leaves on your floor canes. 5 leaves on your primer canes, 3 leaves on your floor canes. And it's still doing it now. I'll come over and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Even after we've pruned this, you see now we got 3 leaves. Now this is still a primer cane. Even though this is 3 leaves now, it's still a primer cane. Because if you look at the tip of it, Look at what's happening on the tip. You see the 5 leaves? It's a primer cane. Those are the tail signs of it. Now next year, this branch will go dormant, come back, and it becomes a flora cane. The flora canes are going to only have 3. And this is where your berries are going to be at next year. So that's how simple that is. Same thing here. You see right there? 5 leaves. That's a primer cane. And then you look here, there's 3. All of these in this bed right now are primer canes. Every blackberry in this bed right now is a primer cane. All the flora canes have been harvested out. They've been cut all the way down to the ground. See down there? You see the nubs down there at the bottom? They've all been cut out. So everything that's in your blackberry bed right now should be a primer cane. Everything in here is a primer cane. That's your first year wood. That is what this green wood is. See all that green, all of that green wood. You see all of these laterals shooting off? That's because we topped it. And I'm gonna show you the tip again. You see that tip right there? And look at all the growth that's put on since we tipped it. That's where all your fruit's gonna be at next year. These same canes, when they come back next year, they're gonna be called flora canes. This year, they're called primer canes. You see the 5 leaves on there? The 5 leaves are only gonna be on your primer canes. They will not be on flora canes. That's how simple that is. And everything in this bed right now, everything in this bed is a primer cane. Next year, all of these will become flora canes. That's where your fruit's gonna be next year. That's how simple that is. She's a unique, she is really unique in her nature. She's really unique. Let's see, turn our lights on. I think we got a good position for our lights now. So we'll see if we can mimic that again, because we did a pretty decent job last time of mimicking, getting that light just right. Let's see if we could do it again. Yep. Let's see here. I think that should do it. Yep. All right. So double MP soap says yes, 5 and 3. There you go, 5 and 3. Broke. Explain the difference in flora cane and primer cane. Your primo is, and this is, I have to do word associations. I'm a little slow. For those that y'all didn't know, I'm a little slow, so I do word association with everything that I do. For me to remember things, I have to do word association. I close my eyes and I have to see things in order for me to picture what it sounds closest to in order for me to remember it. So when I think of primo means first in Latin. It's first. It means to become first. So if you're looking at primo, I think of a baby, primo. Primo, preemie, like premature baby, it comes first. So I always visualize the baby, primo, 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 primo. Picture the baby, the infant. That lets you know it comes first. The flora is exactly what it says. The flower of the cane, the flower. What produces flower produces fruit. Flower. So anytime you remember flora cane, picture flower. It's that simple. Primo means preemie, premature, the baby. That's the new ones. Flora means flower. That's the blossom. That's where the fruit comes from. And it's just that simple. I mean, if you can remember that, it goes true for blackberries, blueberries, I mean, whatever it is, anything that has a cane on it. So let me see. Broke is asking what's the difference between the two. The difference between now, I have what they call prime art, and I'm not going to get too far deep into the prime art uh, blackberries because it will get confusing to you. But I'll say the prime art blackberries that I have, they both fruit on floricanes and primocanes. They fruit on new wood and they fruit on old wood. They fruit twice. They fruit on the primocanes and they fruit on the floricanes. That's called the prime, and that's the reason why it's called prime. That's preemie again. Primocane, prime arc is for the primocane fruiting. So it fruits on the prime and the flora. That's the prime arc. Now, don't get caught up into that. Don't start asking me questions about that because it's going to get very confusing. If you do not have a prime arc, then this is non and void. I have a prime arc. So when I talk about this, I have to talk in terms of what the average person would have. The average person is not going to have a prime arc. That's why I get fruit in the spring and I'll get fruit this time of year also on my blackberries. Prime arc, primocanes, they fruit on both prima and flora. Most of the blackberries are going to be floricane fruiting. That's all they're going to fruit on the floricanes. Your primocanes come up from the soil. That's the green new growth from this year. That's all your primocane is. It's the green new growth from this year. Once the primocane gets to the point there, that's where we tip it. That's what we did. We tipped all of our primocanes. That was the new growth that came up this year. And after your floricanes fruit for the season, that's where all your berries were on your blackberries, you chop them all the way down to the ground. Only that cane that actually gave you the fruit, you take it all the way down to the ground. That's how you prune your blackberries. Again, black raspberries and purple raspberries are pruned identical to blackberries. Raspberries, golden raspberries, red raspberries are pruned totally different. They fruit on the tips on their primocanes. Now, if you have an everbearing, you can make it fruit twice, which means it'll fruit on the tips this year. And if I cut off that tip this year after all of that fruit is, where all that fruit is, and I'm sitting right next to it, so ain't no need of talking about it and not showing it. But if you sit, let me see here, you see all this fruit, all these berries are starting to come in now. This is a primocane. This is on a blackberry. This is my golden raspberry. I'm sorry. This is my golden raspberry. This is what she's gonna do. This one here, golden raspberry. She's gonna put on fruit on the top half of the cane. That's what all this is, the top half. So after she fruits, she's not gonna fruit on the top half anymore. You got two options. You can cut it all the way down to the ground and it'll produce one crop next year, one large crop. Or you can cut it halfway, take off only what has already fruited, and she'll fruit on the bottom half in the spring. And then you'll have new floricanes come up that'll fruit on the tip. That's how you get two harvests in one year. It's going to be smaller fruit, but you get two harvests. If you want the large fruit, you're going to take it all the way down to the ground. But you never want to tip your raspberries unless it's a black raspberry or purple raspberry. That's how simple that is. I mean, I got just as much. Matter of fact, I got more hits on those blackberry videos than I did on the blueberry videos. I didn't realize that many people were confused about how to prune blackberries or raspberries for that matter. But for me, it was even simpler than the blueberries. The blueberry is kind of confusing to me. Even today, I have to be really selective on when I'm pruning my blueberries because the blueberries only get pruned when they've dropped all of their leaves and they're dormant. With the raspberries, there's so many different variables that go into it. but it really is simple. It's more simple than the blueberries to me. Pollinate that like button. That's what Double M says. Yes, not just that like button. Y'all know how I do. I like those reactions. Y'all hit them reactions over there. So, all right, bro, come on with some more questions now. I know you had some. Man, I love those grapevines that you got over there too. Grapevines are looking real good, bro. Um, Star Sun Kid says, I have 3 bushes of red everbearing raspberries. Thank you for sharing with the clarity. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the raspberries to me, it it's a lot more to do, but it's more simple because it's pretty you're dealing with canes. When you're dealing with the blueberries, it really is personal preference. Everything is personal preference when it comes to blueberries. How big do you want your bush? How wide do you want your bush? How many berries do you want? Do you want large berries? Do you want small berries? There's so many different variables that go into the blueberries that it can get overwhelming with the blueberries. But the blackberries is really cut and dry. It's like if you want 2 crops, you chop half of it off after the tip has fruited. If you want one, you take it all the way down to the ground. So basically, if you have nothing but raspberries this winter, you basically go in and cut everything down to the ground. There'll be nothing left up on the top. That way, spring comes, you'll have a whole flush of brand new, huge raspberries. That's what's going to make those raspberries large when you let them do it one time a year. But if you do a double crop, you're going to get more berries, but they're going to be smaller. That's how that works. Let's see here. Broke says, not all my blackberries fruited, so I should still prune. Yep. If you, again, Broke, the thing that you want to take into consideration is tipping on all the live bushes, because what'll happen is you're going to get either disease or you're going to get insects, spotted wing Drosophila. I hit that right the first time. Where David Corey at? David Corey gave me the key word to spotted wing Drosophila. He said Drosophila, Allah, like Allah. Again, word association. I have to see things in my head in order for it to make sense. When he said that, I was like spotted wing Drosophila. That's the insect, the fly that infects your blackberries, blueberries. It infects all the berries. Spotted wing Drosophila. That's what you want to keep in mind. What is this? SWD. We say SWV. Y'all remember the pop group SWV? We're going to say SWD. Spotted wing Drosophila. That is the fly that infects your berries and it'll overwinter if you do not prune your blackberries the correct way. So that's one of the things that I tell everybody. Once you prune your blackberries, do not compost them. Put them in a bag, a plastic bag, sit them out in the sun and let those babies cook because that's the only way that you're going to get rid of that spotted wing Drosophila. And that is the fly that infects the berries. And when they say your blackberries have flies in it or maggots in it, that's a true statement. And that's what happens when you allow those canes to overwinter. They'll burrow inside of those canes and then they'll come out the following season. And when those berries ripen, on the day that they ripen, they start piercing into those berries and they start putting those that larvae in there. Spotted wing Drosophila is what that's called. Yeah. Let's see here. One of the hardest slash biggest berries for $500, Alex. Oh man. See now, why you gonna tell me that OCD is chick? Now I'm finna start going looking for that berry. Alex. Is that a blackberry or a raspberry? What's going on, Miss Shirley OG? Thank you for coming in. Uh, T Taja, I'm trying to see T Jade Time, TJ Time, I think that is. How do you get blueberry plants soil acidic to a 5 pH? She asked, How do you get blueberry plants soil acidic to a 5 pH? 50% peat moss, 25% mini pine bark nuggets, 25% compost, and a quarter cup of cottonseed meal. If you don't have cottonseed meal, you can use Berrytone. That's a good one. If you can't find the mini pine bark nuggets, you can use fir bark. Actually, fir bark is better than mini pine bark nuggets, but down south we don't have fir bark. That's more of, I think, a Midwest or Western type plant. But fir bark would replace the mini pine bark nuggets. And that's going to give your blueberries the pH that you need. You don't have to do anything to your blueberry bush if you give it the correct growing medium from the onset. And what I do is I use ascorbic acid. When I'm watering my plants, I use ascorbic acid. And what that does is it removes the chlorine and the chloramine from the tap water. And if you want it to, you can add a little extra ascorbic acid in there and it'll lower the pH. So if you're having issues with your blueberry bushes maintaining that low pH, you can add that ascorbic acid and you can control your water pH, but it's not going to control your soil pH. It'll temporarily drop the pH of your soil, but your soil is going to rebound. It's what they call a cation exchange. And no matter what it is, if your soil is set for a certain pH, it's going to always rebound itself. That is just the way nature is. It's going to rebound itself. Now, I have come up with a way to create, instead of having my containers above ground, I've come up with a way that I can do it in ground. I don't know if it's more work. It might be more work. And I just think it's a lot easier just to build up than to dig into the soil. But the way that I do it is the blueberry roots go down about 12 inches. That's going to be the gist of where your blueberry roots are going to grow. And that's why I like going up 15 inches on my raised beds, my corrugated raised beds, because once you have that, you basically have an isolated growing medium. Anything below that, you can combat that with your what I call the recharge every year when we're adding back in 3 gallons of our mix every year to every bush that we have. We add 3 gallons of our mix. That's 3 gallons of our 50% peat moss, 25% minute pine bark nuggets, 25% compost, and a quarter cup of that cottonseed meal. I call that the recharge. It's like a battery recharger every spring and every fall. Matter of fact, now is the time to fertilize my blueberry bush. I'm in Georgia Zone 8A, and this time of the year, August, going into September, that is the time to fertilize your blueberry bush. As soon as they start pushing out all of that new growth, after they've finished fruiting, they're going to start pushing out all that new growth. That is the time to go in and fertilize. That's how I do it every year. Every year, it gives them just enough to perk them up and shut down when winter comes. You don't want to fertilize too close going into the fall because then you're going to have too much greenery as that winter comes in. So you want to start prepping them to get ready to shut down, which means now is the time to fertilize, because when we're doing our natural fertilizers or our organic fertilizers, it's going to take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for that fertilizer to settle in, for those microbes to break that down. So it's not like synthetics where as soon as you put it on, it automatically reacts, unless you're using the FPJs that I use. Now I can use my Himbit FPJ works. I mean, it works miracles on the blueberry bushes, and that's because the Himbit FPJ is full of magnesium and iron. Those are the two nutrients that blueberries love more than anything. Outside of nitrogen, they love magnesium and iron. Henbit comes around during the springtime. You guys got to start harvesting this stuff and putting it up for the winter time so you can have these things all season long. It's not like when you're doing your comfrey, which is what I have back here, and I'm finna harvest my comfrey next week, and I'm gonna do my FPJ with my comfrey. You can go in and take one of those, make a bath with it, a weed tea with the comfrey, all your comfrey is gone for the year. I could go in there and strip off a few leaves and make me a FPJ. That FPJ will last me all season long, and I can still get several more harvests off of that comfrey. It's just understanding how to maximize your growth potential in everything that's around here. You see, we're in the middle of the summer, and my plants are not wilting, as David Core with the crop said. It's that time of the year where plants will start wilting. Yes, it is. It is that time of the year if you are not biologically feeding them. And that's what we're doing when we start feeding these FPJs, FLJs. We're biologically stimulating them with the hormones from another plant. We're triggering them to respond to the conditions. So if it's a really hot day, they've already been systemically programmed to respond to a hot day. So they're not waiting for it to get hot before they start shutting down, before the leaves start to droop. And what they're doing is basically protecting themselves, trying to keep from using up all the moisture in the leaves. So when we start treating them with these FPJs, it pre-programs the plant to start doing what you want it to do. Systemic acquired resistance is what we're doing. It teaches the plant how to respond to an attack before it starts to attack. That's why things like as the year goes in, now you're starting to see these beautiful leaves come out. As that Japanese beetle disappear, oh, the garden's gonna start looking amazing. The Japanese beetle is the one thing I have not been able to whoop. The Japanese beetle is, I don't know, it's something about it. I just have not been able to find that thing to combat the Japanese beetle. They weren't as bad this year, but I'm thinking that I'm going to start planting more of the Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth as trap crops because I mean, you can see that thing is skeletonized. I mean, they went through that Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth, but they didn't touch my beans. So I think that's going to be a living example of how to better deal with the Japanese beetle going into next year and growing more of the Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth and basically leaving them as trap crops. Um, Somebody speaking to Grower with Hudson. What's going on? Thank you for coming in. Uh, GRBT, do you know watermelons and what do you feed them? I don't grow watermelon. That would be broke. Broke the man with the watermelon. Broke and David Corey. Those are the watermelon guys. I don't grow watermelon. They get a little too unruly for me. I don't like things sprawling all over the place. I got an issue right now with these beans starting to sprawl because I should be growing them up a trellis, but I'm letting them crawl on the ground. But that to me is that's kind of that's annoying to me. I don't really care for that because I like to trim around my beds and I don't like having to lift things up to weed eat around it. I like basically that's why everything has a border around here. So I like to keep things contained in its space. Food by faith. What's going on, Miss Shaka? Um, she said had kudzu kudzu beetles. Oh yeah. All right. Well, that's a lesson learned. So let's see who all still here with me. Yeah, I think I'm back. I think I'm back. Let me see here. Did I have this in the right spot? Let's see if I can change this light around. There we go. How's that light for you guys? What's going on, David Court? How's that light? I changed my light around. I forget where I had that light at last time. Looks good. Embers Herbal says, looks good. Thank you. Want to be crafty? Grandma says, welcome back. All right, let me see if I can. Yeah, that's my cue right there. I like to have my little Tinkerbells in the. Look at that beautiful backdrop. Oh man, I got to show you guys that. Look, look at that beautiful backdrop of that sunset in the back. But I think that's a little too high because now I'm showing my light. I want to show the light. All right. All right. So it look like a few people popping back in. So lesson learned on that as well. I guess when I get ready to settle in, I probably need to have my phone plugged up because I can take my microphone out at that point. Because what I have here is my microphone attached to my chest. That's what I have up under my shirt right here. You'll see the little bulge right there. I got a t-shirt with a pouch made into it, and my microphone goes right there. So when I'm moving around the garden, I don't have that in and out audio. I hate watching videos where that audio is going in and out. So I have that on, and then on the back of my phone, I'm giving y'all my cheat code now. On the back of my phone is my receiver. So this is, let's see if I can turn this the right way so you guys can see what I'm doing. These are the Rode MEs that I have. Now I have 4 of these microphones. These are microphones. This is my transmitter, but it has a microphone on it as well. So if someone were walking around with the camera, I could turn this microphone on and I can have 6 microphones at one time. So I have 4 of my mics and 1 receiver, but the receiver also has a mic on it. This is what I use. This one's attached to the back of my phone. See the little Velcro patch? See the little Velcro patch? So it's attached to the back of my phone and I just plug it in. And that way I can walk away. The whole point of that is, and again, I'm showing you guys my little setup that I have. I can turn those off now. The whole vision of what I'm trying to do, and it's going to require a team to be able to do it, and right now I don't have a team. But what I want to be able to do is like real interactive television, and I'm out here doing the best I can with what I have, and it's still probably, a little different than everybody else's live, which is, what I try to do.